Great things begin when there is a gathering of great minds. Good afternoon to all. Hope you all are safe and doing well. I would like to thank each one of you for taking out time and joining us for today's webinar, Decoding Union Budget 2021 to 22. I, Professor Kritika Gupta, on behalf of Medicaps University, Department of Management and Commerce, extend a warm welcome to all. Medicaps, a name that has been the pride and a brand in the arena of technical education since 2000, consistently aims at creating an ideal ambience for budding technocrats and managers, meanwhile pushing them to grow like true professionals. Medicaps University, being a torchbearer in the domain of education, disseminate this fighter spirit amongst our students as well. Today, as we all are standing tall and strong to fight this global pandemic, this session would definitely inculcate some new energy and motivation in all of us. What's the best way to see the change than being part of it? So, as our country step into the light of future, we are here to decode the union budget of 2021 to 22. The Union Budget is the annual financial statement presented every year that states the estimated receipts and expenditure of the government. Our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her third Union Budget on 1st February 2021 under the shadows of global pandemic. We could not have asked for a better dignitary than Dr. Ganesh Kavadia to throw light on today's topic, Decoding Union Budget 2021 to 22. It is with great feeling of honor I welcome our guest lecturer, Dr. Ganesh Kavadia sir, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S.K. Somani sir, Dean Management and Commerce, Dr. Harish Papad sir, HOD Management, Dr. A.K. Singh sir, HOD Commerce, Dr. Haldar Sharma sir, Senior Faculty, Dr. Rashmi Somani ma'am, Dr. Mukesh Porwal sir, and Dr. Sunil Mishra sir, all respective deans, HOD, faculty colleagues, and dear students. Before we commence, let me explain how we will proceed for the guest lecture. Initially, I will invite our guest lecturer, Dr. Ganesh Kavadia, and if you all have any query during the session, we will have Q&A session at the end. We will share the link for feedback at the end of the session on Zoom chat. Kindly fill the feedback form and you will get certificates on your email ID. Now, for the introductory speech, I would like to invite Honorable VC Sir, Dr. Sunil K. Somani, a think tank, visionary, and a teacher at heart. Sir is also an international chess player and has an experience of more than 40 years in education under his sleeves. Sir, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Namaste. Kavadia ji ko dhanyawad. He is attending for a very noble cause. The students must know about the details of the budget and basically what exactly is theory behind the budget. That is also important, but what exactly Madam Nirmala has put forwarded during the this third budget after the Jetli ji has given this uh, task to the finance minister, and what exactly our country is looking for, because every time when the budget is being given to the normal people, the uh, country people, rather I would say, because all the kinds of people are affected through the budget, maybe the industrialist, maybe the uh, poor people, maybe the educationist, and so on and so forth. Everybody is affected by the policies related with the government, and at the same time what spending will be there in the budget. It is very important. And uh, Kavadia ji is a very well known name uh, as far as the economics and finance is concerned. And we are glad to hear him as an expert for decoding the budget. And I believe that the students will be not only benefited, but will also get the answer to the questions which are there during this discussion or this webinar. And uh, my only request is to all the students that take the benefit of the expertise which fortunately we could get today from Ganesh ji. And whatever is your query related with the budget, and of course some queries related with the economics also, you can always put forth your questions. I know him since long, and I am sure that his expertise will pave a new path to your thinking as far as budget as well as the economics is concerned. I am thankful to Ganesh ji. Namaste Kavadiya ji. Dhanyawad.
नमस्कार जी, नमस्कार.
Over to you, Kratika, again.
Thank you, sir, for your motivating words. I would also like to invite HOD Commerce, Dr. Haldar Sharma, sir, to enlighten us about today's topic. Sir, please.
परम पूजनीय गुरुजी डॉक्टर गणेश कावड़िया सर, ऑनरेबल VC sir, respected dignitaries and my dear students. Once again, welcome in the webinar. Budget is not the account of income and expenditure. It is more than that. It is a tool to fulfill the objectives of the fiscal policy, like economic growth, reduce economic inequalities, to control the inflationary pressure in the economy, to remove poverty and unemployment, to reduce regional disparities. The COVID-19 virus has posed an unprecedented challenge for policy making globally and nationally. It has tested the mettle of policymakers to deal with uncertain, fluid, complex, and dynamic situations. It has also tested the frontiers of the medical science. Total confirmed cases are near about 11 crore. Confirmed deaths due to the COVID, more than 24 lakh. 223 countries, areas, and territories are affected. The pandemic and associated lockdown measures lead to de facto shutdown of a significant portion of the global economy, thereby triggering a global recession in this year. It means that the global recession was induced by health crisis. This recession is highly synchronized as the fraction of economic experiencing annual declines in national per capita. About 85% countries facing recession. The pandemic is therefore once in a 150-year event with an unprecedented impact with all regions of the world. Due to that, many economies facing the negative growth rate. India's policy response to the pandemic stemmed fundamentally from the human principle advocate eloquently in the Mahabharata, that saving a life that is in jeopardy is the origin of dharma. Therefore, the price paid for the temporary economic restriction in the form of temporary GDP decline is significant here. The various sectors of the Indian economy, first quarter, like hotel and trade and hotels, declined by 47%. Construction declined by 50.3%. Finance and real estate declined by 5.3%. Manufacturing by 39.3%. The same thing was continued in the second quarter. Trade and hotels declined by 15.6%. Construction declined by 8.6%. And finance and real estate 8.1%. India's GDP showing alarming downturn of 23.9%, which is all-time high in the past 40 years. And in such kind of the pandemic condition, presenting a budget is a very tough task, which is done by our Honorable Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. Now, what is in the budget? For the decoding, we have invited our Guruji, that is the Ganesh Kavadiya sir, and I'm not taking much more time and giving Over to Kritika ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, without further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Ganesh Kavadia, sir, a man who believes in focusing on vision, value, and velocity. Sir has a teaching and research record of more than 37 years in the areas of microeconomics, macroeconomics, econometrics, and research methodology. He is an eloquent public speaker and delivered several keynote addresses in various national and international events. Dr. Kavadia has been awarded with the Best Professor in Economics by World Education Congress in 2013. Sir has published more than 9 books and 100 research papers on varied Indian economic issues. It is our honor to have you, sir. Now, I would like to say, Dr. Ganesh Kavadia, sir, that now you can share your views on today's topic, that is Decoding Union Budget 2021 to 22. Sir, please, over to you.
So thank you so much for very kind words. I was not knowing all about me, but thanks the Google. So Honorable Vice Chancellor Somani sir, the Dean Bapat sir, Head Department of Commerce, Haldar sir, and Kritika madam, the anchor for the entire program, and all my dear students. So it's really a privilege to share the views on budget, especially after pandemic when the Indian economy is under severe crisis, and that too in a very good institute, Medicap University, one of the best university in Indore, Madhya Pradesh, and very growing university, wonderful leadership, and full uh, on the fast expansion path. So it really is a privilege for me to share views on budget in such a great institution. Budget definitely very rightly said by the Honorable Vice Chancellor and also by the Haldar Sharma that the making budget is a very difficult task. All people have lot of expectation, and the personal budget and the government budget is slightly different. Personal budget is balanced on income, and the government budget is balanced on expenditure. And it is not only a just accounting statement, it is a policy document. And therefore, since it is a policy document, therefore everyone try to see what is the issue related to this particular budget. So whenever anybody wants to decode the budget, first of all, he has to understand what are the backgrounds under which this particular budget was presented. And first was the very rightly pointed out by Haldar Sharma that because of the unprecedented COVID crisis, the Indian economy is facing severe crisis, even recession. So whether this budget is able to bring the economy on the real path or not. This is the first object, and on the basis of which this we have to see whether this particular budget is able to fulfill this particular expectation or not. Second, if you analyze the Indian economy, you will find that since 2016, the economy is under recession. Not only the economy is under recession, but almost most developed countries of the world, they are under the recession. And the Modi government has announced that we have to bring this, we have to keep this economy 5 trillion by 2024. So we have to see whether this budget is able to give that push by which the economy is able to achieve the target of 5 trillion or not. And the other important part is that because of the pandemic, the entire world has faced a lot of situations, a lot of problems related to the supply side, problem related to dominance of China, problem related to the bottlenecks in the health. Lot of these problems are there. So we have to examine whether this particular budget is able to put that economy forward or not. And because of the China crisis under the pandemic, the government of India has announced Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India program. Whether this budget is able to push that Atmanirbhar Bharat or the Make in India program or not, that we have to examine. So these are the background. And for government, the policy documents, these backgrounds are very important, and we have to see whether this budget is able to push that particular parameter in the economy or not. Now, what is the thrust of this program? The first thrust of this program is the finance minister in her budget speech said that post-pandemic, a new world order seems to be emerging and India will have a leading role therein. Means because of the crisis, the entire world is creating a new opportunity. Not only challenges but opportunities also. Whether this particular budget is able to encash the opportunities or not, this is also very important. And since this is creating opportunity, therefore everyone said the India has an opportunity to lead the entire world entirely. And if you want to lead the entire world, then your system should be more efficient, more transparent. Whether this budget is able to give that focus or not. And next part is very important because very rightly pointed out, because of the pandemic, there is a severe recession in the economy and the GDP has declined by around 23%. And government is expecting that during this year, the GDP decline will be around 7.5%. And as a result, per capita income and every person's income is declining. So since the income is declining, so there should be no additional burden on the citizen of the country. So whether this finance minister is able to create a situation where growth will be there, but no extra burden will be there. So we have to examine whether it is really an attempt for that or not. She said that a series of reforms has already been introduced by the government for the benefit of the taxpayers and the economy, including slashing of corporate tax rate. Government has already reduced the corporate tax rate so that they can create an environment for more manufacturing industry. They can create an environment where the foreign companies can come to the India and they can boost the growth rate, abolition of dividend distribution tax, and many other benefits have already been given to the economy. So we have to see whether this budget is pushing all these benefits or not. Other part is very important because government has announced Atmanirbhar Bharat. And what is the meaning of Atmanirbhar Bharat? India should grow in such a capacity that no one will be able to dictate India, but India will be able to decide what is good for the Indian economy, what is bad for the economy. Means we have the option to reject the external commodities, or we have the capacity to reject the import of other countries. So that capacity is known as Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat doesn't mean isolation. आज की दुनिया में दुनिया के आइसोलेशन से गुजारा हो नहीं सकता है. India wants that the globe should be more integrated because the climatic problems are there, problem of extremists are also there, problem of pandemic is also there. So under such conditions, single country cannot fight with this situation. Therefore, India wants that our Atmanirbhar Bharat should be able to create a condition for integration of the globe, more integration like a global village. And for that, whether the policies are pushing or not. And for that, the custom duty is the most important parameter. And therefore, we have to see whether this budget consider the custom duty as a tool to invite foreign companies or not, custom duty as a tool to create a supply network for the domestic industries or not, that also we have to see. And therefore, government, the budget has very categorically explained that 400 old exemptions in the custom duty, there is a need to revive so that we can push the Atmanirbhar Bharat agenda. So looking to this thrust area and the challenges of the Indian economy, the finance minister has developed this budget on 6 pillars. And what are the 6 pillars? The most important is the health and well-being. Most important is the health and well-being. The second is because we want to create employment, we want to create a base for a strong manufacturing sector, and we want to create a base for the foreign companies to come into India and create and for rural development, for employment. What is important? Capital and infrastructure expenditure is most important. So whether
Hello.
this budget, yeah,
सर सॉरी सर आपको डिस्टर्ब कर रहा हूँ सर आप इसमें स्क्रीन शेयर कर लीजिए सर तो और क्लियर कर सकते हैं सर स्क्रीन शेयर इसमें
ये बीच बीच में आप लोग डिस्टर्ब कर लेते हो यार।
नहीं सॉरी सर ये सर आप स्क्रीन शेयर कर लेंगे सर तो जो आप बता रहे हैं ना सर हमको
नहीं, मेरा जो बता रहा हूँ वो इस पे नहीं आएगा, वो
screen
अलग।
हो जाएगा सर
ये जो पीपीटी है वो स्क्रीन पे नहीं है, मेरे पास लिखा हुआ है सही है।
अच्छा
वो
अच्छा
शे-
सर ठीक ठीक
वो
ठीक ठीक
शेयर
सॉरी ठीक ठीक सॉरी सॉरी सर ओके ओके
तो दूसरा जो इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है वो कैपिटल एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। तो ये बजट कैपिटल और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को पुश कर पा रहा है या नहीं कर पा रहा है। फिर ये भी देखना है कि व्हाट वी वांट दैट द बजट शुड रिमूव द इनइक्वालिटी, and removal of inequality means whether the economic agenda is inclusive in nature or not, that we have to see. And then the next important part is the strengthening human capital. Without creating a skill of the human capital, we will not be able to encase the opportunities because of the technological development, innovation and R&D, minimum government and maximum governance. All these are the 6 pillars on which this budget was developed. And there are 2 important features of this budget. First is it's supposed to spend a big on infrastructure, which span across road, power generation, bridge, ports, boost, and then boost to health sector. So these are the important parameters on which this budget was developed. Now, there are certain arithmetics of the budget. Without understanding the arithmetics of the budget, it will be difficult to understand the policies of the budget. The first part is that what is the expectation of the government on the GDP growth. This year we know that government is that by the end of the March, the economy will decline by around 7.5%. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter, if you combine all this, so in some quarters there was 23% decline, but now the economy is picking up, and as a result, government is assuming that this year there is a decline of 7.5%. And since this is a decline of 7.5%, so government has planned that next year the economy should grow at the rate of 14.4%. And in the 14.4%, around 10.5% will be in real terms and around 4% in terms of inflation. And if we are able to achieve this particular target, then our economy will be at the level of 2018 and 19. 2018 and 19 के level पर हम आ पाएंगे. So that is the one part which we have to examine. The second part, which is very important, because the estimates of GDP provide the base for taxation, base for deficit finance, base for revenue expenditure, base. So what is our estimate of GDP? This is most important parameter, and therefore government has very reasonably assumed that we can expect that the nominal GDP will grow at the rate of 14.4%. And on the basis of this particular figure, government has has estimated a total expenditure of 34,83,236 crores, which is around 15% of our GDP as a total expenditure. Means the out of the total GDP, 15% will come from the government expenditure. You must be knowing that the GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So G contribution is around 15%. And if government is not putting that much of expenditure, then we cannot get this particular growth. Out of this, the revenue expenditure means there are two parts of the total expenditure. One expenditure is known as revenue expenditure, other which is most important is the capital expenditure. So out of 34 lakh, 29 lakh 29,000 is all from the revenue expenditure, and which is around 12% of the GDP. And there is a 12% increase from the earlier budget. And out of that, around 5,54,236 crores, or that is 29% increase from the 29 1920 financial year. So you can see that this budget is really giving a big push on capital expenditure. It was not never met in the earlier budget. So you can say that really government is focusing on the quality of the expenditure, and the quality of expenditure means it should push more expenditure on capital creation, asset creation. Out of the total received, around 6% government receipts are estimated around 19, means out of the 34 lakhs, only 19 lakhs are estimated from government revenue, government received, rest they have to manage by the borrowing. And since they are managing the borrowing, and therefore the critics are saying the entire budget is a fiscal deficit budget. Government has planned the entire development on the basis of borrowing, and therefore the people are saying that borrowing will create a liability for the government, and it can create a crowding out effect for the private sector. Crowding out effect for the private sector, because all savings will be tapped by the government, so there will be not much money for the private sector, and that can create a problem for investment. So if you see the targets of the fiscal deficit, you will find around 5.1% of GDP is the revenue deficit. Huge. Means 5.1% is the revenue deficit. And what is the meaning of the revenue deficit? Government is borrowing money just to maintain its day-to-day expenditure. Day-to-day expenditure means if people don't give money, lend money to the government, government will not be able to disburse the salaries. So entire salaries of the government, defense expenditure of the government, and the interest payment is all coming from the borrowing. So this is a huge problem, and the total fiscal deficit is around 6.8% of the GDP. Government has announced a Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act, which says that government should not increase the fiscal deficit more than 3.5% of the GDP. But this time, government said that because of the pandemic, I should not be assessed on the basis of the fiscal deficit because there is no other option. And I have to manage the crisis of the pandemic. So the last year, that is the year which is closing on 21, March 21, that the total fiscal deficit is estimated at 9.5%. Against the 9.5%, government has said that next year our fiscal deficit will be 6.8%, not 9%. So we are happy that now government is controlling this part. The other important part is that fiscal deficit means borrowing of the government. And as a ratio of the GDP, if your GDP is declined, means denominator is declined, the ratio is bound to increase. So if your GDP is increasing, then 6.8% is quite reasonable. Now, there are many theories. Some theories say that 6.8% is very high because the entire saving will be tapped by the government, and then it can create a problem for the private sector, because if funds are not available for the private sector, rate of interest will increase, and increase in the rate of interest will definitely create a problem for the investment. But the other group of economists, they said that at this stage, the government of India's risk-bearing capacity is very high. What is the meaning of the risk-bearing capacity? First, that our forex reserve is at all-time high. more than 500 billion dollars. And you will be happy to note that the total external liabilities on the government of India is less than the फॉरेक्स रिजर्व, यानी जितनी हमारे पास संपत्ति इकट्ठी है सरकार के खजाने में, उसको पेमेंट कर दें तो वी आर फ्री फ्रॉम एक्सटर्नल बोरोइंग। ये एक बहुत बड़ी बात है। आपको याद हो 1991 में गवर्नमेंट को अपना सोना गिरवी रखना पड़ा कि हमारे पास फॉरेक्स रिजर्व नहीं थे, और आज हमारे पास इतना फॉरेक्स रिजर्व है कि वी कैन रीपे द इंटायर एक्सटर्नल लोन, एंड देयरफॉर इंडियन इकोनॉमी इज इन अ वेरी साउंड पोजीशन। This is one parameter. Second parameter देखें कि the Food Corporation of India has created a huge buffer stock of food grain. Because we have 130 crore population, so we require certain amount of food grains to be in the warehouses. And at this time, the total availability in the warehouses is much more than our safety requirement, almost 3 times. And all the stock with the Food Corporation of India is Government of India saving, and therefore again we have a very good risk bearing capacity. Next point is the inflation. The fear for the fiscal deficit is inflation. Luckily, inflation is also under control. It is less than 4%, and India is a very moderate country in terms of inflation. So looking to all these points means forex reserve, inflation, and stock in the food grain, stock of the food grain, you can say that we have a wonderful safety net. And because of the safety net, India's risk-bearing capacity is very high. And if India's risk-bearing capacity is high, then definitely that fiscal deficit will be absorbed by the economy, and it will not create an adverse condition on the economy. The other point that there is a fear because of the crowded out effect, that if government is borrowing huge money from the market, then it can increase the rate of interest. But fortunately, there is a wonderful coordination between the Reserve Bank of India and Government of India. Therefore, the Reserve Bank of India has opted for easy monetary policy. And what is the meaning of easy monetary policy? Excess pumping of liquidity will reduce the rate of interest, and therefore they will manage the show in a very effective manner. And therefore you can say definitely this budget is a growth oriented budget, and the growth is coming all through fiscal deficit in a right direction, because it is pumping money in the capital expenditure. Now you can see, if you take example, means the fiscal health of the country can be decided on the basis of what is the tax GDP ratio, यानी हमारी जीडीपी का कितना परसेंटेज टैक्स के रूप में गवर्नमेंट लेती है। एंड अगर आप देखें 17-18 में, तो दिस परसेंटेज वाज अराउंड 11.2%, और ये धीरे धीरे रिड्यूस होकर 9.8% पे हुआ, और इस साल गवर्नमेंट एज्यूम कर रही है कि 9.9% हमारा टैक्स कलेक्शन होगा। इसका मतलब एडिशनल बर्डन भारत ने यानी बजट ने जनता पर नहीं डाली है, तो ये एक अच्छी पॉइंट है। और दूसरी बात है कि अगर आप बहुत बोरो कर रहे हैं तो ये बोरोइंग कहाँ से आ रही है? बोरोइंग के 2 सोर्स हो सकते हैं। पहला सोर्स है कि हमारी खुद की सेविंग कितनी है, और दूसरा सोर्स है कि दुनिया से हम कितना उधार ले रहे हैं। और दुनिया से उधार लेने का जो पैरामीटर है, दैट इज नोन एज करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट। लकीली वी आर वेरी कंफर्टेबल ऑन करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द फिस्कल डेफिसिट इज ऑल कमिंग फ्रॉम डोमेस्टिक इकोनॉमी, एंड देयरफॉर इट विल नॉट क्रिएट एनी एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन द इकोनॉमी। अब इस बजट की इन सब परिस्थितियों से अगर आप देखें तो बजट की मुख्य बातें क्या है? सबसे अच्छी बात तो यह है कि नो हाइक इन द और नो चेंज इन द इंडिविजुअल इनकम टैक्स। पूरी जनता ये एहसास कर रही थी कि बिकॉज ऑफ द कोविड देयर विल बी सम सुपर रिच टैक्स, सुपर कोविड टैक्स। तो फॉर्चुनेटली द गवर्नमेंट हैज नॉट प्रपोज्ड एनी न्यू टैक्स, एंड देयरफॉर दिस इज ए गुड स्टेप फॉर द इकोनॉमी। Second part, there is some slightly modification in the provision for exemption. what the people were doing, the people were saving lot of tax liability, just putting their money in the PF account. So now government says that if anybody is depositing money more than 2.5 lakhs in the PF account, the additional will be taxed as per the income tax rate. Extension on tax incentives by a year up to the end of fiscal year 21-22, कुछ एग्जाम्पशन जो इस मार्च में खत्म हो रहे थे उनको उन्होंने एक्सटेंड कर दिया, स्पेशली ऑन अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग, tax deduction on interest on housing loan, tax holidays for the new startup. They have extended for one more year. This is also a good part. Then, because of the Kisan agitation and because of the, you will see the figure that during the pandemic, it is only agriculture who is able to manage the growth, and because of the agricultural growth, we are able to manage everything in a very comfortable manner. So agriculture needs very special strength. And what we require in the agriculture? We require infrastructure, agro infrastructure in terms of marketing, in terms of warehousing, in terms of irrigation, all this. So government has levied a special cess on gold, silver, alcoholic beverage, coal, cotton, and also on the petrol and diesel. But they said that this additional cess will not create any additional impact because at the same rate they are reducing the custom duty or excise duty. So zero-sum game, they have reduced some excise duty, they have reduced some custom duty, and in the same proportion they have increased. So this will help the government to get mobilized lot of fund in the name of the agricultural infrastructure development, and this fund will not be shared with the state government. And as a result, the center will be able to push the agricultural infrastructure. As I said earlier, there is some change in the custom duty, and the aim of the custom duty is not to generate revenue, but to promote domestic industry. So those item where the raw material is coming to the country and the raw material is used by the domestic industry, government has reduced the custom duty and government has increased the duty on the final product, which is creating problem for industry, domestic industry. So I think this is a good step for Atmanirbhar Bharat. एक और जो इम्पोर्टेंट पैरामीटर था, दैट इज द रिडक्शन इन द टैक्स प्रोसीडिंग. सरकार कभी भी 10-10 साल पुराने केस खोल लेती थी. अब सरकार ने कहा है कि बहुत एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी केसेस में जहां बहुत ज्यादा टैक्स लाइबिलिटीज है, वी विल ओपन इट द टैक्स रिटर्न of more than 3 years. Otherwise, after 3 years, you can be free that there will be no additional liabilities on that. तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट मैंने जैसे आपसे कहा कि दी हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट, और गवर्नमेंट ने इस बजट में हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर 137% इंक्रीज किया है. 2,23,846 करोड़. ऑल टाइम भारत के इतिहास में इतना हेल्थ एक्सपेंडिचर का प्लान कभी नहीं हुआ, और उसमें से भी अराउंड 35,000 इज जस्ट फॉर COVID vaccine, because during Bihar election there was a lot of rumor who will bear the expenditure on the vaccine. So government in this budget said that I am putting 35,000 only for vaccination, and entire expenditure will be borne by the government of India. So this is a very important part. And other remaining part will be on preventive and curative health care, so that we can fight against such pandemic. To augment the road infrastructure, more economic corridors are being planned. The budget provides an enhanced outlay of around 1,18,101 lakh crores for Ministry of Road Transport, and out of that 91.6% is on the capital expenditure. So this is again a very good, और इतना खर्चा इन रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे पहले कभी नहीं किया गया. Similarly, budget has also provided a record sum of 1,10,055 crores only for railway, and out of that 97% is on the capital expenditure. So this is a very important step that government is really creating quality expenditure to create job and to create a good infrastructural base. Now the government is borrowing, government is giving lot of concession on the corporate tax, and the only point is to create a supply base. So government is pushing the economic growth through supply side. In economics, you must be knowing there are two components. One is known as demand component, other is known as supply component. So the current government, the focus is that remove the all bottlenecks of supply, growth will automatically come. We know that in classical economic theory, supply creates its own demand. So government is following that part, but we have a doubt whether without taking care of demand, how supply will create the growth, that is a problem. But government has selected top 13 ministries to push the supply side, and highest allocation on Jal Shakti, followed by Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Ministry of Communication, huge budget allocation, and that shows that government is completely after to create a strong supply network. The ease of monetary policy, as I said, will minimize the impact of crowded out effect, because the Reserve Bank of is regularly pumping money in the market, and therefore the fear of increase in interest rate is not there. And the other important parameter which is very important is development of financial institution. The government has created a fund for 20,000 crores to develop a bed bank. Very important concept in this budget. And what the bed bank is, we know that all public sector banks are suffering because of the NPA. And this pandemic has all created more pressure on these banks. And as a result, most of the public sector banks, they are not putting capital, they are not giving credit freely to the economy, and therefore their credit growth is very limited. So government said that we are creating a bed bank, and this bed bank will purchase the NPAs of all public sector banks. It means the NPAs will come to the bed bank, and all these public sector banks will be freed from the problems of NPA, so therefore they will be able to go for credit expansion. You must be knowing that the during pandemic, government has planned to push or support the economy. They have asked the bank to provide credit to all the weaker section, those who are the informal sector, but providing, just giving the provision, but banks are hesitate. Why they are hesitate? Because it can create a problem of NPA. So now government realized that these banks should be relieved from the burden of the bad asset, and that bad asset will be all transferred to bad bank, and therefore we can expect that there will be a real growth of the credit in the economy, and that credit growth will push the growth rate. And then government has also planned to develop some development financial institution which will be focused completely for the economic development and the capital expenditure, especially for infrastructure. And this is a very good initiative. A new scheme is launched at a cost of rupees 18,000 crore to support equipment of public bus transport services. We know that without public bus transport system, it is very difficult to save the environment. So if you want to save the environment, you have to create a wonderful base for public transport system, so that people will use less of their own, and they will use the public transportation. As a result, the impact on the environment, impact on the petrol and diesel will be less. So this is the very end. The road ministry has launched a very good program for electric vehicles, and the benefit of the electric vehicles is that it will create less burden on the our balance of payment, because we will import less of crude oil, and it will support the environment because of the electric bus are environment friendly. And the other problem with our power sector is under huge borrowing burden. The budget proposes to launch a revamped reform-based results-linked power distribution sector scheme with an outlay of around 3,05,984 crores over a 5 period. So that is another. This budget is not only a vision of 1 year document. It has planned in some sector for 3 years. It is planned for some sectors in 5 years. So you can say that definitely it is a growth-oriented budget. Another very important part of this budget, and as a result, there is a continuous rally in the share market, and that is the disinvestment plan. For last 4 5 years, government was not able to fulfill the target of the disinvestment because the policies, the rules, regulations are not very clear cut. So this time, government has planned around 1.75 lakh crores funds from this investment. And in the second part, they said that there are many very important sectors for the economy. They have increased the FDI limit from 49 to 74%, especially in the insurance uh, sector. And but the very important thing that in inviting FDI, the the maximum persons on the board of directors should be Indian. And second, uh, the sufficient profit should be retained for this. So the foreigners will not be able to take their profit without or the entire profit. Government has planned the major sector for this investment. And in this investment, they said very importantly, there are two sectors of the economy. One is known as the strategic, which are very important for the economy. And in strategic, government will keep a major portion under the government control. But those sector or units or public enterprises which are not very strategically important, for that either they will denationalize or they will sold out. There is no point on keeping. So people say that this budget is they're pushing for the privatization, but my thing is the real beginning of dismantling the old socialistic economic order. We have seen that socialistic economic order is not able to deliver efficiently, transparently, and there are huge problems for innovation and upgradation, and therefore there is a need to dismantle it. And now there is a reopen of a new chapter where public and private sector really cooperate, coordinate for the economic growth of the country. Inclusive growth, huge focus on the rural infrastructure. As I said, government has imposed a cess only to push the rural infrastructure in terms of road, in terms of the irrigation system, in terms of warehouses and all. Micro irrigation, very big push in the economy. The other sector of the economy which is very important, this is innovation and R&D. You all know that without innovation, without upgradation of technology, it is almost impossible to serve the 130 crore of this country. And therefore, we want skill, we want innovation, we want research. And for innovation research, the government has introduced a new education policy with a complete focus on research and innovation. So this budget is a really landmark, and you know that skill development is very important factor to create a gainful employment. So this budget focuses on National Research Foundation outlay around 50,000 crores. And what will be research? Research which is we require is not important. Research what the government is required So government has identified certain thrust area for the research, and if you submit a proposal for the thrust area, you will definitely get funds from the government. So this is very important. And to start with, the government has planned to digitalize the next census and completely. And for that, government has kept a fund 3,768 crores for the census. And this time, it is the first time that the entire census will be digitalized. You can imagine how much paper we have saved. And paper saving means how much environment we have saved. First time, this time the budget is not in the hard copy, they are in the soft copy. Even economic survey is not in the hard copy, it is in the soft copy. So government is really creating a system for a new world order, new economic order, and that is our focus, that we have to save environment, we have to save ecology, and this will lead to the development of quality of life. Another important parameter is that since you want to lead the entire world, since you want to encash the opportunities created by the pandemic, so you have to be very transparent, you have to be very clean in your policies, and therefore this budget is an attempt to create a transparent fiscal system. What the meaning of the transparent fiscal system? Because there are some items which are not good for the public. So government deliberately underestimate the targets of collection just to create an image. And there are issues which highlight or good for the public, they give the overestimate, and when the financial year ends, government is not able to meet. Take example, Food Corporation of India is purchasing the food grains at the minimum support price, and most of the times minimum support price is more than the market, and government, the Food Corporation of India, is borrowing funds from the market in order to sustain that policy. This time budget said that all the borrowings of the Food Corporation of India will be a part of the government borrowing, and it will be a part of the fiscal deficit. So this shows that government is clear in the vision that we should have a clear, transparent system so people can rely on Indian economy and they can invest in the economy. So this is a very important point. And from that point of view, that budget is really pushing the supply side. It is trying to reduce the bottlenecks of the supply side, creating a wonderful ecosystem for innovation, research, and the quality expenditure on the capital expenditure. But as a student of economics, I have doubt on certain targets. And what is the doubt? That we know that the most of the companies, they are sitting on a huge inventory. You can see that most of the companies balance sheet, they are sitting on a huge cash. It shows that demand is lacking, and without creating demand you cannot manage the supply and demand equality, and if without demand it will be difficult to create growth rate. Take example, the government has distributed a huge money to the weaker section during the pandemic, and God thanks that government has introduced the scheme of Jan Dhan Yojana, और उसके कारण बैंक अकाउंट थे तो लोगों सरकार ने उन बैंक खातों में पैसा ट्रांसफर करके क्राइसिस में दुनिया को बचाया, जनता को बचाया. और अब जो इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में डेटा है, दैट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कि ऐसे मनी को इकोनॉमिक्स कहता है हेलीकॉप्टर मनी, ऊपर से डाला गया बिना एफर्ट के. और उस हेलीकॉप्टर मनी ने क्या किया, इकोनॉमी में मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी टू सेविंग इज ग्रेटर देन मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी टू कंज्यूम. यानी जो एक्स्ट्रा पैसा मिला लोगों ने उसको बचत में डाल दिया, ये सोचते हुए कि शायद आने वाला समय और ज्यादा परीक्षा का हो सकता है. इसका मतलब हेलीकॉप्टर मनी विल नॉट क्रिएट डिमांड. हेलीकॉप्टर मनी या वीकर सेक्शन को अगर आपने बहुत पुश किया, इट विल नॉट क्रिएट डिमांड. Rich income group is already over consumed, they are not bothered for the demand. So who is the section? Middle income group is the right section who can push the demand, and therefore without giving benefit or rebate or reform to the middle income group, it will be difficult, and this budget is missing on that part. No support to the middle income group, lot of support to the the weaker section, lots of support to the higher income group in terms of reduction in the corporate tax, reduction in the distribution tax, and all. But middle income group is the real factor which has the capacity to push the demand. So this budget is missing on that part, and therefore we were expecting that the government will do something for the middle income in order to create the demand in the economy, and without demand it will be difficult to manage the economy. अच्छी बात है कि कोई नया टैक्स नहीं है. बहुत डर था कि सरकार कुछ ट्रांजैक्शन टैक्स लगा देगी, कुछ सुपर रिच टैक्स लगा देगी और कोविड के नाम से कुछ करेगी, लेकिन वो नहीं किया है. ये एक बहुत अच्छी बात है. अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की बर्डन को कम करने के लिए उन्होंने जो स्किल डेवलपमेंट और कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर को पुश किया है, दैट विल डेफिनेटली क्रिएट. और क्योंकि इकोनॉमी में एक्सेस कैपेसिटी है, तो दिस मच ऑफ फिजिकल डेफिसिट विल बी absorbed by the economy because of the economy is under, operating on less than the potential. If your economy is operating on less than the potential and there is a huge unemployment, so if you are pumping money in the economy, it will create employment opportunity, and therefore we can expect that without inflation we will be able to achieve the target. One more important parameter, which is wonderful parameter. There are two things in the economics. One is known as entitlement and other is known as empowerment. Government realized that entitlement is not creating opportunity for employment. Entitle मतलब लोगों को पैसा दे दो, अनाज दे दो, बिना काम का फंड दे दो तो पुश करेगा. तो इस बजट में जितने भी इंटाइटलमेंट ओरिएंटेड टारगेट थे उनको रिड्यूस किया है, एंड गवर्नमेंट हैज फोकस ऑन entrepreneurial development or empowerment, and empowerment through skill development, entrepreneurship. So that shows that government is really after thinking how to make Atmanirbhar Bharat and how to make 5 trillion economy. And if we are able to make India 5 trillion economy, we will be the third largest country in the world. So these are some of the good points. डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड को रिफॉर्म करने के लिए भी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रिफॉर्म की बात की है इन्होंने, और अब ज्यादा इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स के ऊपर बजट का ज्यादा फोकस नहीं होता है. ओनली कस्टम ड्यूटीज आर पार्ट ऑफ दैट, और या पेट्रोल और डीजल पे एक्साइज. अदरवाइज द रेस्ट ऑफ द टैक्स बर्डन इज ट्रांसफर्ड टू द जीएसटी, और जीएसटी इज नॉट ए पार्ट ऑफ द बजट, इट इज बाय द काउंसिल. So budget is not giving much on the indirect tax. So if you can really give a push to, the government want to push to give the demand side part, the middle income group is the right section of the society which has a capacity to create a good demand base. Thank you so much with all these words. So in my views, the budget is good, is a new focus for innovation and opportunities.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. I hope this session was very much helpful for all our participants. Now it's the time that we can take few questions from the viewers. So I would request everyone so that if they have any questions, they can put forward their questions. If there is any question related to today's session or related to the budget, it is the time that you can put forward your question.
Madam, don't bother. Budget is so simple. There is no possibility of any question.
Yes, sir. And you've explained it in such a great manner that there's no room for any question.
Right.
Yes, but I have just a few questions. So if you don't mind, can I ask them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sir, there's one question from a student from Medicaps that does the budget is helpful in creating jobs and employment?
Yes, definitely. Job creation depends on the capital expenditure, infrastructure expenditure. And this budget is a huge expansion in terms of infrastructure development and in terms of capital expenditure. And if you are able to create a good infrastructure, a lot of private sector will come into the economy, and that will definitely create job opportunity. All you guys are very lucky. You guys are very lucky. Those who are in the colleges, once they will join the job market, there will be lot of opportunity. जितना भी पेन था वो कोविड का निकल गया है. अब इकोनॉमी कंप्लीटली ऑन द वी शेप ग्रोथ. वी वाला जो up part है, that is coming and that is waiting all you to get a graduation and get a job market.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, there's another question from a student named Mohammad Farhan Khan from Medicaps University. He asked that what will be the long-term impact of this budget, as this budget was introduced in the pandemic situation. So what will be the long-term impact of this budget?
Very right. देखिए, Modi government said that the pandemic is a very short-term phenomena and our growth is long-term. So he has created a complete vision, assuming that we have to create a 24 trillion economy, 5 trillion economy. We have to create आत्मनिर्भर भारत. और जो पेंडेमिक है उसके लिए उन्होंने हेल्थ पर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करके उस पेंडेमिक की जो पेन थे उसको भूल गए. इसलिए लॉन्ग टर्म और जो पब्लिक सेक्टर विच आर नॉट एबल टू परफॉर्मिंग उनको डिसमेंटल कर दिया है. तो डेफिनेटली इट इज ए गुड अटेम्प्ट फॉर the long-term growth.
Okay, sir. So there's this second last question that I think that you would be the best person to answer. That Sir Tapisha Jain asks that why there is no benefits to middle-class taxpayers as inflation is rising and they play a major role in the country's economy. So what is your opinion on this?
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. मिडिल इनकम को नहीं दिया है और यही कारण है कि डिमांड पुश नहीं हो पा रही है. लेकिन बजट में फिनांस मिनिस्टर या मोदी गवर्नमेंट ये सोचती है कि उनको बेनिफिट दें जिनकी वॉइस है, जो उनके लिए वोट बैंक है. मिडिल इनकम ग्रुप doesn't have the voice, doesn't have the vote bank capacity. This middle income group just sit in the drawing room. They can discuss on WhatsApp and all this, but they cannot create the voice. And as a result, not only this government, but none of the government has bothered about the middle income group.
Okay, sir. So the last question, most of the questions are related to petrol rates and the farmer policies. So what is your take on this as a point of view from the budget?
Okay. Very important, the government wants revenue, and you can see that tax GDP ratio in India is almost lowest. बाकी सब जगह से देखें तो बहुत कम है. और हमारे यहाँ जो टैक्स का कलेक्शन है, मेजर टैक्स इज कमिंग फ्रॉम पेट्रोल एंड डीजल, ह्यूज. तो एक तो रीजन है कि गवर्नमेंट चाहती है कि किसी तरह से पेट्रोल और डीजल का कंजम्पशन कम हो, प्राइस बढ़ा दें तो लोग पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम पे शिफ्ट हो, मोर एफिशिएंट एनर्जी सिस्टम पे, सोलर पे शिफ्ट हो. और आप देखें कि हमारा एक साल में सोलर पैनल का एक्सपेंशन बहुत तेजी से हुआ है. तो ये एक इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है. लेकिन दिक्कत ये है कि विदाउट क्रिएटिंग अल्टरनेटिव, गवर्नमेंट इज क्रिएटिंग ए प्रेशर ऑन पेट्रोल एंड डीजल, एंड दैट इज अफेक्टिंग द एम्प्लॉयमेंट आल्सो, दैट इज अफेक्टिंग द ग्रोथ आल्सो. तो सरकार को कोई विकल्प इनका डेवलप करना चाहिए, अदरवाइज इट कैन हैव ए ह्यूज इम्पैक्ट फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म ग्रोथ रेट.
Okay, sir. Sir, I think that was it. Looks like we've answered all the questions. Now, finally, I request our HOD, Dr. Haldar Sarma sir, to sum up the session and deliver vote of thanks. So, over to you.
Thank you, Katika. On the behalf of Department of Commerce, Medicaps University, I would want to extend vote of thanks to Dr. Ganesh Kavadia sir for taking out time and gracing this occasion with your words of wisdom. We all are very grateful to you for sharing your insight on union budget and helping the young minds in decoding it. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being the part of this session. Wishing you all a great day ahead. Thank you so much, sir, for attending this session and giving us your valuable feedback. And I would request everyone to fill the feedback form. The link has been provided in the chat box. So kindly fill the feedback form and you'll get your certificates on your mail. Thank you so much, Ganesh, sir. It was really nice having you here.
Thank you, sir.